And I'm live. Hey, y'all. Welcome to the last and final day of the year 2020. Now, I do know that it is already 2021 in a lot of the world, but here in America, where we're behind in several ways, but we lead, it's still 2020. So let's see. For today, I'm going to do a top and bottom, and then I'm going to pull three cards in between. We're gonna see. You're gonna take it how it resonates, and we're gonna see if it's like three distinct things, like three different things between the top and the bottom, or if they're like it's just five messages that all support each other. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read it as three different ones. So I guess I'm going to be timestamping. That's fine. Let's get into this. It's wild that it's already New Year's Eve here. It's already the new year in a lot of the world. Maybe not a lot of the world, at least some of the world. Um, and it's just, yeah, this year for me just like flew. And I remember at one point I was like, I need time to like slow down so I can do all the stuff that I need to do. And then time was like, I'm gonna need you to do all of the stuff that you need to do because I'm not slowing down. And I was like, okay, fair. Like, I guess I can't do nothing and like hope for things to slow down. All right. I've never gotten that little title piece of paper in this deck. It's never come out before. Okay. Oh, yeah. That was a dream I had. I was like, wait, did somebody talk about me? Like, no, that was a dream. Because I think I said something. No, 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 no. That was my auntie. That was my auntie. That happened in real life. Because I said something and I was like, what was that? And then my auntie was like, oh, what was that? Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's get into this. Oh, okay. I'm not going to take this, but actually, I'm going to take this. And this is how we're going to do this. And I guess what's this one. That's how we're doing this. Oh. Okay. Work. So I guess I'll kind of read this like a heart of the Celtic cross, but there's no like obstacle or blockage. Is that how I want to do this? It'll be something like that. So this is going to be something that we either need to close out or that we need to keep in mind moving forward. This this is a lesson and an applicable lesson. And again, like if you didn't learn that lesson, then you're gonna need to have learned that lesson, or it would be beneficial. It would behoove of you to have learned that lesson by the time we move forward. Now, this one is going to be something for us to be aware of or conscious of moving forward. And it may be something that challenges us or something that we're going to learn next. After, especially after incorporating this and whatever the present is. This is where we are in the present right now. In a sense, this is going to be something that serves us foundationally or something that, like, on a ground level, we would benefit from having, right? And it's different than a lesson that we've learned in the past because, like, a lesson is something that you can forget sometimes. But if something is grounded, then it's like it's one of those things that you never forget. Like they say that you never forget how to ride a bicycle after you've learned how to ride a bicycle, that type of thing. Rather than like I learned how to do like partial fraction differentiation. And as long as I'm using partial fraction differentiation, then I know how to do partial fraction differentiation. But if you're asking me how to differentiate this thing, I'm like, how do I do that? And if the answer is, oh, partial fraction differentiation, It's like, okay, well, I'm going to have to look up what partial fraction differentiation is because I forgot what partial fraction differentiation is. Right? That's not necessarily like riding a bike. And then this one up here, it'll be something that kind of sort of like, it's like a guiding principle. And a guiding principle isn't something that you have to necessarily follow to a T, but it gives you an idea of what the criterion is related to this specific thing or an area of things, or I guess a whole set of criteria. So let's get into it. That's how I'm going to do this. That's how I'm going to do it. Where my book go? I see my 3.2 or my 275s over there. I think I may just stick with the 125s today. So we're starting with number 45, innocence. 45, innocence is a 9. I think this is just, it's reminding us to keep in mind that it's not that nothing that we know is, I have the word, it's not negligible. It's just for us to keep in mind that there's more to life than what we've experienced. And to move forward into this new cycle with an open mind and an open heart and a healthy amount of curiosity and daring. I think it's also a little bit of kind of sort of reassurance that, like, if this resonates, everything that you've needed to do is done. Like, it's a 9. That's the end of the cycle. It's finality. It's completeness. Because then when you go to the 10, it's like now there are more things for you to incorporate. Now you got the 10's place and the 1's place to worry about instead of just the 1's place, right? Because it's a double digit number. And so there's only one digit to worry about with the 9, and at the 9, it's complete. With the 10, there are 2 digits to worry about. One of them is a 0, so it could be literally anything. And the other one is a 1, so it's like a brand new beginning. But with this 45, what's 45? 45 is death and the Hierophant. Love that energy. Because that's what I guess I've been on over here for a hot minute now. 45 is also like 90% of the way there. And there's only 10% left. But I feel like the 10% is the majority. It's not weighted equally. And I think that's what this innocence is about, right? Like, even though it's 90%, the 90% that you have done is so, it's like elementary school compared to high school, right? And it's like you can't go from elementary school like right to high school. Like, there are things in between that you need to learn. Like, you end elementary school, well, maybe there's still some development that happens in between. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Between the time you're 10 and 18, um, there's a lot that happens developmentally, and then puberty is somewhere in there for a lot of people, and their bodies start changing. And as their bodies are changing, then their minds start to change and their emotional systems start to change because of all the hormones and stuff like that. And so it's just like, it's to keep in mind again that, like, it's just to be open, because whatever you think could severely limit what's coming, because it's going to be so much more than you could have even imagined. Innocence is 43, girl. That's a 43. That ain't even 45. What is 45? Now I'm curious. and I'll just read the little tag. 45 is prosperity. You have the ability to manifest prosperity into your daily life. So, not yet at prosperity, but girl, prosperity is happening. Innocence is 43. 43 is a seven, and spiritual seven is a spiritual number, and it's a number of like spiritual completion too, like 7 days in the week, seven chakras, seven deadly sins, seven virtues. Um, Seven is just a number that's kind of sort of featured in some holy texts, at least. So with this being the seven, it's a space of like reclaiming innocence. So it's like everything that I said holds true, but with this being a seven instead of a nine, like this is what we're going for. So right now, what we're going for is sort of like freeing ourselves from all that past stuff. And like, I don't, it's putting you in a place to be like unbiased, where something happens and you're not automatically jumping to like conclusions and making something into something that it isn't. And that's been something that I've been talking about. So let's just read innocence. The simplest gestures of love. Gestures? Is it gestures or gestures? Hey, Clarinda. Hello, hello. Happy New Year. Happy Australian New Year. What's it feel like? Tell us what 2021 is like on this side of the world. Okay, well, if you're gonna get some sleep, you should probably continue to get some sleep because this might go for a while, and you may need a lot of rest. I don't know if like y'all are doing stuff tomorrow, um, or if you still have company and y'all are you're gonna need that sleep. Um, like Master C is still there, but let's see, let's see. You know what? I could do it with these, but I'm gonna put on the glasses. Oops, 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 oops. Thank you, thank you. 2021 feels gorgeous. I mean, the rest of my life feels gorgeous, honestly. I've done the work, so I'm sorry. The simplest gestures of love and respect can prevail over even the toughest of hearts. In this card, the lightness of the aura around Ganesha, if I can pick it up, the lightness of the aura around Ganesha portrays innocence. By being soft and still, you give the universe the opportunity to assist you in creating your desires. Be willing to release any cynicism. Have you noticed yourself becoming increasingly critical over time? As you gather more experience, sometimes the familiarity of a situation can cause you to lose touch with your innocence. It is only natural to expect similar outcomes as you have had in the past when similar situations present themselves in your life. Don't forget, though, that change and transformation are always possible. You are being offered an opportunity to approach this situation with renewed peace. If you are making changes to your job situation, relationships, or even the direction of your life path, approach this with a sense of exploration and the excited curiosity of a child. Be willing to let go of the preconceived ideas that have developed over time in your mind. Allow your heart to be centered and in a place of peace. Every day, call on Ganesha for guidance to renew your mind and refresh your thinking. With Ganesha's assistance, contemplate each situation you encounter. Ask Ganesha to support you. Remember to pray for freedom from fears, worries, and unhealthy obsessions that might control your thoughts and harm your soul. Be accountable for your decisions and their results. Just knowing that you are responsible will assist you to take decisions seriously and with greater consideration. I love that extra little bit that they put in there. Be accountable for your decisions and their results. I love that. I love that. Call me biased. No one there, just you and Zaya. What? Just you and Zaya? Oh, well, enjoy. Enjoy having the place to yourself. and whatever. I guess Zaya's there too. So enjoy having a place to you and Zaya. Maybe like blast some music or not. I don't know. When I'm the only person here, sometimes I like to take my video games out into the front room and just like play out there, even though there's not too much difference. I'm just like, this is a space that I wouldn't be able to just have if other people were here. So I'm going to enjoy this space. But yeah, that's what I was saying about innocence pretty much. And I do love, again, I love the part where they factor in accountability. And I think accountability is an ingredient in the seven that we kind of sort of maybe miss out on a lot, where we take on, responsibility for our actions. And a lot of times what we'll do is we'll use other people and what other people have done to us in the past to justify our actions in the past, the present, and going into the future. And in my opinion, it's just that, like, I don't know how sovereign of a being you can be without taking responsibility for what it is that you do and how you impact and influence other people. Because it's like, I don't know, as a leader or as like a king or an emperor, like, I don't know, it just seems a little juvenile. And while this is like innocence, it's not like naivete or um like it's not like a juvenile energy. It's because we mature that we can gain back this innocence, but we can hold that innocence in a space and in a place of like wholeness, maybe. I don't know what the word is. I can't think of the word. But it's like it's almost that energy of like, if you knew, like, if you could do one thing and you knew you wouldn't fail at it, what would you do? But just because you won't fail at this thing doesn't mean that you don't have to try. It doesn't mean that, like, oh, if you don't show up and if you don't do anything, then you still succeed. And I think sometimes we can kind of sort of think of it that way, even if we don't necessarily think of it that way. It's like, oh, like, I don't have to work as hard. I don't have to be like grinding because I'm going to succeed no matter what. But that's not necessarily the case. And then is it like a sustained success? Who knows? 'Cause you can succeed, you can make whatever, do whatever, and then lose all of it the next day. Life is always like life has always been that wildly unpredictable. And this year, for the first time in maybe a very, very, very long time, we just like globally in a more collective way all experienced that like unpredictability all at once. But it doesn't take a global pandemic to have your life falling apart, because people's lives fall apart like all the time, every day. People get a diagnosis or they lose their jobs or they lose a loved one, or the just world completely turned upside down, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the world. And it's almost, in some weird twisted way, it's almost a blessing that everyone is experiencing this right now, because now it's like the whole world is sort of like slowing down. Because if this were only happening to a few people, the rest of the world would still be going. You still have to be at work. You still have bills to pay, and a lot of people are still working, essential workers, and some people had bills that maybe they weren't as understanding. But typically you could go through something like this, like wildly unpredictable, and you can lose as much as you've lost this year, but it be more isolated to the point where the rest of the world is still asking and sometimes even demanding that you show up. And at least in this country, the stimulus and stuff like that wasn't necessarily perfect. And again, not everyone was in a position. Some people were fortunate enough that they continued working and their, daily lives weren't besides the fact that like you can't do things, their livelihoods weren't too affected. Um, and even if they were, then maybe they were in a position where it's like, you're not wondering how you're going to feed your family and wondering how you're going to pay your bills and doing this and doing that and on the verge of losing everything. Like you still have things to be grateful for. So while you are impacted, it's like, you know, it's always comparative, and that's not necessarily the point. The point is that something like to this scale can happen at any time. And let's not think that, moving forward, that something like this, I want to say won't happen again, depending on how we deal with it, depending on how we deal with this. Because, kind of sort of unfortunately, we are moving into superbug culture where some societies are so hygienic that the only bacteria and viruses and things like that that survive are the ones that are basically impossible to kill. Not basically impossible, but the ones that are more difficult to kill because everything is so clean. All the weaker ones die off. It's like survival of the fittest, but in the world of things that get people sick. So, hopefully we address our failures in, healthcare systems, especially in countries like America. Um, And hopefully we can also, well, I don't know if this is going to happen, but hopefully we can look at our willingness to actually do what needs to be done in the moment to move forward. Because, like, again, innocence is not ignorance. Innocence and ignorance are completely different things. And you don't reach innocence by being ignorant. You don't. It's like a king or a queen or an emperor or an empress who just ignores the problems of their country. And so in their mind, it's like, yeah, we have no problems. Their country, their kingdom, their empire, whatever. It's like, oh yeah, everyone's happy here. We have no problems. Everything's like Gucci. And meanwhile, folks are outside, setting up the guillotine and rounding people up to go and get the king, the queen, the emperor, or the empress. And it's going to be their head on the chopping block because of everything that they've been ignoring. Ignorance is not innocence. They're completely different. And it can be difficult. It can be hard. It can be challenging, but you got to do it. All right, Clorinda, no problem. No problem, no problem, no worries. And I definitely will have I'm here with some of my family. I'm going to be catching up with a few friends today. It's going to be gorgeous. Have a beautiful rest. I hope you get plenty of sleep, sweet dreams. You wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on all of what 2021 has to give you. Oh, back on blessings. I ended up back on blessings number 44. So let's see. Let's see if any of that works its way into here or not. Oh, wait, these are the wrong glasses. I got to put on the other ones. Here we go. Let me put on these. I got my magnifiers. I should just use the other ones and learn how to deal, but. So, cultivation. This is the third time cultivation has come out. So, cultivation is sitting in the space of the lesson that we need to learn before we go into 2021. Before what would be beneficial to us in 2021, having already mastered it, rather than trying to learn it when we need to use it. That's what makes it difficult when you're trying to like learn it and apply it at the same time. That's why, it's beneficial when we take advantage of those opportunities to really cement that lesson in the moment where we're introduced to it the first time. So, cultivation again. Listening to music can heal, encourage, and nurture your soul. Your spirituality is an essential part of who you are, and it forms the framework of your world. Music resonates with the human spirit. At the heart of humanity is the song of the soul. Music has the power to unite communities, cultures, and civilization. Listening to music can heal, hearten, and support your soul. Studies have found that musical tones communicate with and have an energetic impact on the cells and organs of the human body. It is believed that the cells vibrate and essentially have their own musical intonations. Listening to music can help heal and uplift your energy. You may find that by tuning into uplifting or calming music, you create space for greater contemplation and in turn gain more clarity about what you are creating in your life. It can also bring about a stronger connection to your higher self or to oneness. Music cultivates community as sound fosters communication and greater unity. Cultivation is a continual process that develops, encourages, and nurtures. There is a spiritual connection that forms between the music and the listener. Ganesha is inviting you to incorporate music into your life in a way that will augment your spiritual expansion. Listen to soothing music while you prepare. Oops, skip the whole page. For your day. Move away from the noise of excessive electronics and digital images and back to a more melodic existence. Take time to sit and listen to music. Doing this can shift your energy to a clearer and more receptive state. Now, I think this being in the space of something that it will be very beneficial for us to have learned moving into the new year. It's talking about how in the space of such upheaval and overwhelm and things like that, like whatever you found to attain some kind of clarity in this time, remember that. Because if you are on the spectrum of people who did the things that they need to do and who are now coming into a whole bunch of stuff, it's going to be a lot of new things. It's probably going to be challenging in some ways, and it may feel like it's all at once, and it may feel overwhelming. But it's like overwhelming in a good way rather than overwhelming in or overwhelmed based on good things happening rather than overwhelm based on tragedies. Because either way, it's like overwhelm is kind of sort of overwhelm, but it's what's causing the overwhelm that's different. And it's like you don't want to, in a moment of panic, I guess, sabotage or throw away everything that it is that you've been working for because it's too much. And so, and again, it's my own personal opinion that if we ignore problems, it doesn't do anything to like reduce the overwhelm because the problems are still there. And not only are they there, they probably get bigger the longer you let them sit. And it's like that alcohol vibe, because I know so many people, I know a few people at least who will use alcohol or other substances or even like, shopping, whatever avoidant technique they have. And I used to be one of them, girl. It was like video games though, instead of alcohol or any other substance. It was video games for me. So at least, and then like when it isn't alcohol or a drug, it's like, well, at least it's not like alcohol or a drug or something that like negatively impacts my health. So it could be worse. And it's like, yeah, I guess on some level it could be, but also at the same time, there are some people who drink alcohol for a very long time or smoke for a very long time and don't experience significant health, whatever, even though it puts them at an increased risk. So is it just that? Anyway, not to get all the way into the weeds. Come on, Patrick. It's that like it while in a health perspective, you could say objectively with some objectiveness that it's better, it still doesn't help the situation at hand. And so in a lot of ways, it's like just as bad. And that's, we're talking about health risks, then equally, not much better. There we go. It's not much better because the problems are still there. And whenever you sober up, or whenever you're faced with it, sometimes the problems come back and they'll sober you up immediately, and it's like, oh, gotta drink more. And I don't know, I guess I just kind of sort of reached the point personally where it's like I don't want to have to be continuously running from these things. And it also got to the point where like sometimes I didn't even really feel like playing a video game. I was like, oh, I'm just playing this to pass time and not think about the things that I don't want to think about right now. And then it's like I'm bored but playing games, and it's like, why am I doing this? It's like, well, what else would I be doing? It's that dependency basically that needs to break. Because again, like anything in life can happen at any moment. And it's going to be our abilities to be present in those moments, to be aware in those moments, and to face the challenge of the moment that gives us the most benefit moving forward, probably. Especially if that's something that you've been learning, and a lot of people have been learning that because of, what's happened to everyone. And again, even though it has been like a global catastrophe, it's impacted different people differently. And so not everyone's had the same like coronavirus experience. Some people have experienced, evictions and homelessness. Some people were already experiencing homelessness before this happened. And some people like didn't lose their homes, but we're still in a point of like, oh, like, you know, basically that same like, how am I gonna pay for this? How am I gonna pay for that? Some people were pretty comfortable, but they didn't get like to take all the vacations that they wanted to take, so they couldn't go to like, I don't know, Europe or Sri Lanka or Uruguay, and like their music festival plans were canceled, and they couldn't go out on their yacht or whatever. So, in one way, it's not to minimize the experiences that those people didn't get to have, but it is just to put it in the context of like meeting basic necessities and meeting basic needs. Like if your basic needs were met, then you have that to be thankful and grateful for. And again, that goes back to yesterday when I'm like, we should be thankful for more than just our basic needs being met. But it's just to emphasize the contrast in experience. And it's that thing that we always do anyway, though, where someone's like, oh, yeah, but like you had food to eat. You didn't have to worry about whether you were going to be like homeless the next day because without, work, your rent wasn't paid and you had the kind of landlord that would throw you out. You didn't have to worry about this. You didn't have to worry about that while you were quarantined or whatever. You still had this and you still had that. It's like when people were like these celebrities with like bowling alleys in their basements and pools in their backyard and all of these other things for them to do. It's like, okay, well, like, do I still feel bad that you're quarantined? Yeah, but like, do I feel as bad? Not really. Why am I getting into all this? Because I guess there's always something to appreciate and there's always something to strive for in a way. But I think cultivation is going to be whether or not we were able to find peace and how we were able to find peace. And again, I feel like there's a difference between ignoring things, distracting ourselves from things, putting ourselves in a position where we don't have to think about them, and like actually addressing them and creating eyes in the middle of storms. And I think that's going to serve very well moving forward. Now, foundationally, the card we have is priorities. And it looks like he's holding a red lotus to me. Also, innocence is a very root chakra energy. In the system, in Sahaja Yoga, the root chakra is like that's where our innocence lives. And so if your root is disturbed, then it's going to be energetically difficult to have that innocence. And again, kind of sort of based on what the card was saying here, it's like our ability to address those things that gives us that sense of innocence. It's our ability to make peace with the past and to not continue to allow it to force our present and our future, basically, by everything needing to by everything needing to conform to what it is that we've already experienced. It's like, how do you expect to get anything new if that's your mindset? Yep, this is a red lotus. Gorgeous red lotus. Priorities, number 30. 30 is a 3. 30 is hangman, right? Yeah, 30 is the hangman. That is not the book. I'm just reaching for anything. So, priorities. Make the most of your time. And this is in the foundation. So, the foundation that's going to serve us, the one thing that we can stand to not forget is to like always be making the most of our time, basically. Every day is a gift. You have the option to make the most of what life is offering you. If you long to create organization in your life, you will benefit from prioritizing. Your ideals determine what you will seek in life. Your priorities are most visible in how you use your time. Ganesha is holding the water lily and emphasizing the importance of your values. He encourages you to know what you truly want. What makes you happiest? There are always blessings that may not be apparent in the midst of a disappointment. Time is not something that can be saved for later. When it comes to the time allotted to you each day, you only have a limited opportunity. Make your choices about how you spend your time in accordance with your highest values. If you languish or procrastinate, the moment will be gone. Reevaluate how you have been spending your days and how you can strive to be more satisfied. In terms of priorities, for each major decision, such as education, occupation, place of residence, marriage, or parenting, you may ask yourself, what will be the impact of my decision? In all choices, make sure that you are certain of what your priorities are. Relate your goals to ways to bring love and blessings to yourself and the people who you share your life with. I love this because I feel like that's another thing. It's very much like, yeah, girl, like that's what we've had the opportunity to do. And I love that this is saying to make the most of your time, right? And again, like, we're human, times are difficult. If you if you're not alive, then you can't do anything else. So survival is, in one way, it's your top priority. But like I've said, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, if you change your priority from survival to thriving, like to thrive, your basic necessities need to be met. You need to be alive. You need to be breathing. Like all of that is wrapped into that priority. So by addressing your priorities and in some ways consolidating them, then you get some of the things that like you need anyway. And in a world where there is limitless abundance always, because again, even in the space of 2020, there have been people who have expanded their families, gotten new jobs, better jobs, new homes, relocated, did all kinds of things. And so the bar can always be set higher. And it's not setting the bar higher in an insatiable kind of way. It's setting the bar higher in a way that's like, if I'm on a path of continuous growth, if I'm continuously growing internally, then so too does it follow in some way that my impact should be continuously expanding or continuously deepening or continuously growing. And there should be some reflection of that. whether internally or externally. But when you internally get there, then the external follows. And so, oh, and two, it's like when it's talking about using your time, it's like if you are putting yourself in a state of not handling, facing, addressing, whatever, that takes time out of your day. And if you do use a substance, or if you use something that consumes resources, then that's there. It involves a recovery time, or it involves resources that you won't have to be able to do other things, right? So, like, if you indulge in something that you already have, for example, let's say, I don't know, you have a crap ton of yarn or video games or exercise equipment that you already have, like, you're not losing anything outside of the time that you spend doing those things, right? No, if you don't have an excess amount of yarn, then you probably got to buy more yarn, something like that. And even when you work out, there is a little bit of a recovery time. But like if you use, like if shopping or money is involved, and that's money that you're not going to be able to spend on something else if you need it. If a substance is involved, a lot of times there's a down period, there's a recovery period, there's whatever before your body bounces back to like normal operation. And now that's time that you like extra, that's additional time on top of the time that you've already lost, in addition to like any health, whatever that may result. Um, and it's like we lose more than we think we do when we are running away or walking away or just not going anywhere. I used to say like I was never whatever enough to believe that I could run away from my problems. I just thought that, I'd be able to ignore them. um, Ignoring them isn't necessarily, better than running, because either way, a problem not addressed and a problem not faced is a problem that compounds for tomorrow. And I guess maybe in some ways that is karma. It's the continuous compounding of things that we're not facing, things that we're not addressing, things that we need to handle and release, that it's like the hold on us just gets stronger and stronger and tighter and tighter. It's like a rat in a can, right? If you put a baby rat in a can and you feed it in that can, eventually it's gonna like fill the can. But it's gonna grow to the size of the can in a way that you can't already put a full grown rat into that can. And so it's like you had to grow in this for this to be as difficult as it is. And while at the at and it while on one hand it is a sort of recognition that, like, this is something that you have been carrying for a long time, and because you have been carrying it for a long time, this burden has become extra burdensome, extra heavy, or whatever. um but then at a certain point there comes the question of like, how long will you continue to carry it forward? It's like, yes, I understand that you've been carrying this for a long time and it's really heavy, and you would love if I just miraculously took it and you didn't have to do anything. But unfortunately, a lot of times that's not how this works. Something has to be done on your part more than you just asking. I think a lot of times we'll be like, oh, spirit can't do anything, the light can't do anything until you ask. But sometimes you have to do more than just ask. You also have to do what is necessary. And it's that doing what's necessary part that seems to trip us up a lot, because we don't want to have to do what's necessary. We just want, and who wants to have to do what's necessary? Actually, this year I don't mind. Because something like a sense of accomplishment, I guess. I don't know. I just know that it'll serve me moving forward, and I'm grateful, so grateful for the place and position that I'm in, and grateful to myself for doing the work. It's a team effort. really. Even though sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's not that it's all me, but like that was my greatest blockage for a long time was my laziness and procrastination. That was connected, honestly, to the future that I didn't see for myself. So there wasn't any real motivation for me to do anything for the future when it was a future that I couldn't see and didn't really want anyway. But now that I'm ready to live my life, girl, it's like, yes, I'm doing everything. Thank you. And I want a lot. I want a lot. And so I'm willing to do a lot to get it. Because if I'm not, then it's just like a wish. It's just a desire. It's just something I want. These are things that I'm going to have. These will be my experience. And to, make sure I get there are things that I have to do. Now, the guiding principle is, ouch, capacity to love, number 34. Here's 43, innocence. Here's 34, capacity to love. I've never seen this one before. And again, the tusk is a little longer in this one, but this tusk is capped. This reminds me of there's like that Japanese practice to when something breaks, you like repair it with gold because it's more valuable for having gone through that experience rather than sort of like replacement culture. But a lot of that is due to planned obsolescence at the same time. Some things are designed not to last. They're designed to break down after a certain amount of time so that you replace them and so that you buy new. And it's kind of sort of that energy of like, if something or someone actually solved your problems, then the amount of compensation that they get from you is limited. And so while there may be some interest in helping, there is also that like, well, if I help too much, then they're not going to come back and that's money that I'm missing out on. And it's like, okay, well, I don't know. But yeah, there it is. You see that cap? I mean, to put a cap on it like that, it has to be broken. I guess it doesn't have to be broken. If it isn't broken, then the cap would be protecting it, the point of the tusk. But tusks have a purpose, right? I'm sure they're used for like defense or something. I don't know if they use tusks to like crack open something or if they're another defense measure. I'm not sure what they use tusks for. I'll just say that because I'm not. It looks like it would be used for defense or some kind of utility, but I'm not sure. Either way, though, that gold crown is interesting. So let's read number 34, capacity to love. And this is our guiding principle too. And I love that capacity to love is a guiding principle. Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Oh, wait. Let's do some. And it's like greenish, maybe not. I don't know if that's like a deep green, like a hunter green type green, or if that's like a blue, like a navy. I don't know. There we go. Capacity to love. It takes courage to open up and heal areas of deep vulnerability. Each human individual is created with a profound longing to feel loved. Out of this need for love, you may exaggerate and parade your fascinating qualities while masking your weaknesses or fears. If you are not committed to looking at your root issues, you will feel disconnected from your true self. Take a moment to look at how you are handling yourself. Are you being open and honest? Are you withdrawing from a situation? Are you masking a problem with some sort of avoidance tactic, such as shopping, drinking, or eating excessively? Are you holding grudges? When your heart is open, you will find that your actions tend to match your words. You rarely get offended. You are emotionally available. When your heart is open, you truly take responsibility for who you are and what your beliefs are. You love yourself more completely. Conflict resolves more easily, and you have a desire to live in harmony with others. Ganesha's trunk represents the ability to consider how you are perceiving the situation, which is significant in your spiritual growth. An elephant's trunk is an important appendage that is used in its day to day functioning. It serves to remove trees and other large obstacles, as well as for more fiddly tasks, such as breaking open fruits to eat. An elephant has a, oh, that was a big, that was some lavender right there. That was some lavender right there. I have these little scented lavender things. Yeah, it's still there in my room, and I don't smell them all the time, but sometimes it'll just like hit me, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is up there, and I just got a blast. Um, so the trunk. It serves to remove trees and other large obstacles, as well as for more fiddly tasks, such as breaking open fruits to eat. An elephant has the capability to handle a range of tasks, from minute ones to those requiring great strength. In this way, Ganesha's trunk is an emblem of his great intelligence and his extraordinary capacity for love. Rely on your own vast array of abilities to tackle your problems and know that Ganesha is supporting you in this process. 34 is the Hangman and the Emperor. And then 43 is Death and the Empress. What did I say that was? Because I thought it was 45 last time. That's why I said it was Death and the Hierophant. This is Death and the Empress. This is the Hangman and the Emperor. And I think these two together, we would be the Empress, and the universe, the world around us, would be the Emperor, conducted through whatever system of love you subscribe to. And it's like, assuming that the the emperor is has the capability to produce viable seed, um like basically the hangman and the emperor is saying that like the world around us is, for better or worse, fixed. Now it's fixed in how it operates, it's not fixed in what it looks like, right? So it's fixed in the way that like it's always taking requests, it's always reflecting back higher and lower sort of energies. It's not fixed as in like, oh, it's always gonna be bad. And so that's why the death falls on the empress, that's why the death falls on us. It falls on us to be able to receive from the world around us and then to turn that into something that we want to bear. It falls on us to nurture ourselves and to take care of ourselves and sustain ourselves, and through that to nurture and take care of and sustain what it is that we're growing. And if we're neglecting or ignoring, then it's the baby that suffers the most. It's what you're creating that suffers. And then when you give it back to the universe, it kind of sort of goes back to that empty oven, or that empty, yeah, the empty oven, the empty microwave, or the empty pan. If you don't put anything into the oven, then you don't get anything out of it. And you just sat there and waited that time, most of the time expecting something to get nothing. Now, although I did procrastinate for like most of my life, I also wasn't the type of person that expected to get anything for nothing. And so whenever I'm not giving to a situation, I don't expect anything of the situation. And whenever I'm in a group and I'm not contributing, I don't take credit. Like I'll tell the group, like I have told the group and the professor, I did not contribute to this. I will take a 0, because I'm not out here taking credit for anything that I didn't do. And if I'm not putting into anything, I'm not going to expect anything out of it again. And I think it's kind of hard for some people to comprehend, because I had this one friend who like knows that I've had zeros, and like who knows that like I don't do homework sometimes. And he was like, isn't it annoying when that one person in class reminds the professor that there's homework due? And I said, no. And he's like, whatever, like you're just trying to argue with me because like I know you would be annoyed because you don't do homework. And I'm like, okay, you're assuming that because that's the way that you are, and a lot of people are honestly, that that's the way I am, and that's not the case. When I walk into class without my homework, I am expecting a zero. I'm not expecting to get more time to do it. I'm not expecting whatever, and I'm not going to be upset with someone who did the work wanting their work to be graded because I didn't do it. Like that's not the type of person I am. And I don't think he could comprehend it. He's a Sagittarius. Not that that matters, but there's that information. He's got a lot of Sag and Cap in his chart. And I just like, I don't know, it's too hot and dry for me. Um, but he couldn't like, in his mind, he couldn't comprehend that I would be that way. He just thought I was being argumentative for the sake of being argumentative. And it's like, no, like why, like that doesn't make sense to me. Because if I did my homework, you best believe it's getting collected that day. On the off chance that I did do it, it's getting collected, and I don't care how mad you are because you could have did it too. It's like we make these choices, and then like we're just so far removed from consequence in so many ways, and it kind of blows my mind. And again, like moving forward, I think, and yeah, Innocence did say that like you have to take accountability and responsibility, and it's repeated here. You have to take accountability and responsibility. But we're just so far removed from consequence that like we really think that we should gain the world while doing nothing, and whatever bad that we do, whatever negative whatever negative influences and impacts and implications arise from our actions that we have no responsibility for, like we shouldn't be charged or we shouldn't be whatever, and somebody else did this to me and somebody else did that to me, and it's like, okay, well that person didn't do anything to me and you did this to me, so as far as I'm concerned, is that person maybe partially responsible in some way? Yes, but did you have the choice to do to someone else what was done to you, knowing full well that you don't like it? Yeah. And in some ways, it's kind of worse because you know that this sucks. You know that this isn't great, but you still choose to do it to other people anyway. And whatever ignorance that you could have claimed to have some kind of leniency or whatever, to lighten your sentence or whatever, like that's gone. And even the things we do to ourselves, we are also so responsible for. So if you know what it feels like to be ignored by other people, but then you turn around and ignore yourself, and it probably hurts more actually when it comes from you, even though in your mind you probably wouldn't feel it that way because you're just so focused on what's happened to you instead of also taking into consideration what it is that you're also doing. And then when you do it and you use that as justification, it's like it compounds itself. I don't know. It's wild. It's weird. Humans, that's what life on Earth is like when you're still developing mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in all kinds of ways. Rely on your own vast array of abilities to tackle your problems, and know that Ganesha is supporting you in this process. That's the last line from that. And then the last line from Innocence is be accountable for your decisions and the results. Just knowing that you are responsible will assist you to take decisions seriously and with greater consideration. And that's true. And it is weird because I think in some other ways, it's like we do think of the negative repercussions, but we don't think we'll get caught. And that's another thing. It's only illegal if you get caught. It's only a crime if you get caught. It's only bad if you get caught. And that in and of itself is just like, I don't know, in some ways prime example number one why justice is absent on this planet, because it's still illegal, it's still a crime, it's still bad regardless of whether or not you get caught. And unfortunately for you, the universal witness is always there. And the universal witness knows. Universal witness lives within you. That's that oneness that you're trying to tap into. It's always there. Oneness doesn't only benefit you, or oneness isn't only looking, spirit isn't only looking when you want them to see, like, oh, look at what I'm doing. Just volunteered over here, just donated this. Just, I was just so selfless. Like, look at me, spirit. Look at me. I'm so great. And spirit's also there when you're not that great. And when you're using things like, oh, as long as I'm not caught, then it's fine. It's like, oh, goodness. Okay, we got one of those. Well, what can we do with one of those? Can we bless that one with, boundless abundance? It's like, I don't know, because as long as they don't get caught, they may be using that abundance to do some really shady stuff. As long as they don't get caught, they may be doing this. And while I do understand that, that is a thing, to be someone representing my brand of spirituality, or to be someone that receives the blessings that flow through me, whatever source connected to central source this is, it's like, I don't know about that, because I don't want my name or my energy on anything that this, as long as I don't get caught, person is doing down there. No, thank you. Let's and then, eventually you may find somebody that, as long as you don't get caught, spirit. But that is what really tickles that, as long as you don't get caught, spirit's fancy, is that they will give you things and give you things and give you things, and then you'll get caught, you'll lose it all and then some, and they'll just be, I don't know, living it up, laughing like, oh, yep, see, this is why I give stuff to people who don't do anything, because eventually they get caught, because they get greedy. Humans are so greedy. No one stops at 1 or 2. Anyway, people just be, but when you don't take responsibility and accountability, you leave yourself open to be taken advantage of. When you take easy ways out, when you don't want to do work, you leave yourself open to be taken advantage of. And then it's like, if you don't do anything to get it, then when you're pleading your case to be like released out of that contract, it's like, okay, well, what work did you actually do so that we can give you something back on this, so you don't have to pay back the full amount? And it's like, oh, I didn't pay back anything while I had that out. And it's like, okay, well, if you didn't pay back anything, then how are we supposed to take anything off the amount that they're asking you for? And it's like, oh, well, they never told me I had to pay. They didn't tell me I had to pay. They didn't remind me that my bill was due. And it's like, okay, well, legally, they don't have to remind you that your bill is due. They don't have to remind you that you have to pay. Because when you signed that contract, everything was outlined in the contract. And it's your responsibility as the person who signed that contract to know the terms in that contract. So there's nothing that can be done here. And then they rule in the favor of the people who get taken advantage of, the people who take advantage of the people who don't read the fine print. And that's what all of this is about. Prioritizing, taking responsibility, being accountable, handling and addressing the things that hold you back so that you can move forward. And when things are as tough as they have been this year for a lot of people, it makes it even more difficult. It's like when you were ignoring your problems when 2020, like when there wasn't a global pandemic, now all of a sudden, are you going to be facing them? Some people probably reached their breaking point this year, and at that point decided that they would. Quite a few people probably ended up actually like getting into self-care and things like that, but self-care is only like it's only a piece in a fraction, because eventually you're going to have to face and address the things. I don't know, like, if I feel like if we were in a better position, or if whatever I'm reading for was in a better position, it wouldn't be like this ending 2020. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, 2020 was hard, but 2021 is going to be so much better. And I'm not even going to sit here and be like, oh, 2020, 2021, and 2022 are hard, but from 2023 and onward, it's going to be gorgeous, girl. Pluto's going to be moving into Aquarius. Pluto's going to be in the age of Aquarius, and it's going to be gorgeous. It's like, no, because if you don't do anything, it's going to be literally the exact same. we look back on our pasts in these ways of like, I don't know. And it's not to like regret anything because we can only move forward. But it's like if you look at the energy of the age of Pisces inherently was not bad. We have systems of love all over the planet, but humanity somehow found a way to use hatred and bigotry to twist that love into reasons why we must conquer and establish dominion over other people. Like, in what world does that even make sense? And then it's like, oh, the age of Pisces was this. The age of Pisces saw these churches and these hierophant energies just like causing war and all kinds of other things. It's like, no, because people lead churches, people run businesses and corporations, people run governments. It's a people problem. It's not an organization problem because there are organizations that don't have that problem. And if it was a problem inherent in organizations, they would have it too. It's a people thing. And like we literally twist anything and everything now to fit whatever narrative we want it to fit. So a planet moving into a different sign, the eclipse happening, or the progression of the equinoxes happening in a different space, that doesn't mean really anything. That it honestly kind of sort of means absolutely nothing when you have free will and free choice. It doesn't mean anything because you could still choose to do everything that you were already doing. So, what does another day on the calendar or a planet moving in a way that it was already going to move anyway? Because we have 12 or 13 signs, if you believe, and given enough time, they will all go through those signs. All of that is already in motion. The only variable really is you. The only thing that can change anything is you. Everything else is already set. And so if you think that you can claim or reap whatever and not have to do anything else, I don't know. I don't like speaking with finality, so maybe you'll find a way to make it work. And maybe you'll be able to sustain it. I don't know. But I don't it to me it's just like even here now, it's like we have the resources and the ability and the capability to have handled this a lot better than we did. We've had the ability to make, even though it still would have been sucky, to make 2020 a lot less sucky for a lot of people. But we decided not to do that. And so, in my mind, that's like prime example. Like, if you have the resources, but you're not going to do anything with it, then like it's not an issue of availability. It's an issue of it's a people issue. And energy is fluid. And when you start talking about like cosmic energies and things like that, when you start like when you get that high up in what some people are talking about, that energy is timeless. So you can be in that now. You don't have to wait for an alignment to get access to that. That energy is already here. That energy is already there. It's been here. It's always present. So if we want to get deeply metaphysical and spiritual and stuff like that, that energy is already here. You don't have to wait for the age of Aquarius to live an age of Aquarius life. And if there are more people sort of living that energy here physically, then it sort of accelerates the process. But, when people are still ignoring or not addressing or whatever, then it's like, why are we surprised that nothing has changed? And I don't know why people hate on New Year's resolutions so much. Personally, I don't really make them myself. I think I tried to make them one year, but I'm like a continuous resolution type of person. Even when I was ignoring my problems, I was still like a continuous resolution type of person. Even if I wasn't necessarily doing the right resolutions, but it's always right, especially if you eventually reach that point. Then it's just part of the path, it's part of the journey. And even if you don't reach that point, it's part of the path and part of the journey. Like the power of free will is so immense that in some ways it overrides planetary alignments, greater cosmic things, and things like that. Because again, a billion different people could be going through the same experience, and what six or nine hold on, wait, 6,999,999,999 of them can make can make the same choice. But one person, did I say 6 billion or 7 billion or 1 billion? It only takes one person to prove that one A does not lead to B. It only takes one person to prove that free will actually exists. And that even in the worst of circumstances and situations, you can choose to make it better. Your free will overrides those circumstances and situations. Your lack of a willingness and an ability to do what needs to be done to elevate yourself out of those is what determines that you end up with the majority in that experience. And then you just buy into whatever narrative. I'm not buying into the hierophant side of the coin, or I'm not going to buy into the devil side of the coin, so I'll go with the hierophant side of the coin. Well, hey girl, it's the same coin. Either way, it's still going to play out the same. You don't break the system by conforming to the alternative that it gives you. What if it's either left or right and everyone's going right and you go left? Hey, you still chose left or right. That, like, from a certain perspective, it's like, yeah, I can see how you would think that, oh, everyone's going right, I'm going to go left. But if you're presented with two options and you choose the other option, you're still operating within the system of predetermined options for you to choose. It doesn't break the game just because you choose to go in a different path coded by the same game. When I get on and I do these, I don't expect for it to go here, but I'm not gonna apologize because honestly, it is what it is. And for those who want to be so spiritual and want to be so woke, it's like, okay, well, you also have to take like some responsibility and some accountability, and also realize the power of your choice. And again, like your choice can override any age because the age of Pisces could have been gorgeous. Age of Pisces could have seen us already in what we're trying to get to with the age of Aquarius. If you tell everybody all over the planet, love your neighbor as yourself, treat other people with decency and respect, give to those less fortunate, be a shining light in your community, be a shining example of other people to follow. The love in you should be so strong that other people find love within themselves and connect to love. But somehow we've turned that into religious spiritual politics. And some Game of Thrones, everyone's competing for the same throne or whatever. I've never seen Game of Thrones, but I know that everyone's trying to get that throne to rule over everybody else. And it's like, in any of that, where does the blame fall on the age of Pisces? Where does the blame fall on religion? Where does the blame fall on spirituality when people decided to go and kill people, other people, go and take from other people, go and manifest destiny on other people in their land, in their lives, in their cultures? Where is any of that on the age of Pisces? That's all on humanity. And it's all on people's willingness to just accept it or to not even. And again, not everybody did. There were people back in the times of slavery that knew that slavery was wrong. There were people back in the times of just going to, conquer other lands and killing their people and taking their women and things like that. There have always been people who know that that's wrong. It's always been wrong. It's never, oh, it's just a product of the times. And on one hand, yeah, it's a product of the time when everyone decided that they just go along with it, or everyone decided that it was okay, it was cool, it was Gucci, it was fine, even though the universal witness knows that it's not. And the universal witness is always there. Again, regardless of whether or not anyone else is there, universal witness is always there. And that's why we don't escape judgment, because it's always there. There's always a witness. You are a witness. And, cosmic, universal law ain't like, at least law here, where it's like, oh, I can't testify against myself, so they're not going to call me to the stand. Girl, that's not how that works. Universal witnesses there testifying on everybody all the time. Oh, I can't self-incriminate, so I don't have to say anything. Okay. That's how you think it works because that's how your structure works. But your structure is designed that way to get you to think that way, to get you to do the things that you do, to get you so far separated from the part of you that knows that that's wrong and that you shouldn't do it. And just because nobody's looking doesn't mean that it's okay. And so again, like, is it systemic? Is it something that we've come to accept? Yeah. But is there still that part of us that knows better? Yeah. So does it even matter? No, because you still have free will and you still have free choice. And empowerment, number 23, is the number that we're going to be ending on. In 23, we see that broken tusk without a crown. And we see the whole tusk. This is very like, I mean, not only because it's super yellow, well, maybe it's because it's super yellow and that there's like this little thing on the solar plexus chakra, but even empowerment itself reads solar plexus. Empowerment is the space, like, this is what we're going to be coming into. And if you haven't done this cultivation, if you haven't created the space for which empowerment can come in and live in you, through you, if you haven't done all of this accountability, then it's going to be hard to end up in the space of empowerment. It's like, how can you be empowered when you're constantly either blaming someone else for what you do or giving credit to someone else for what you do? It's like, oh, I only did this because somebody else hurt me, and I wanted, so I decided that I would go and hurt other people, and I decided that I would go and take advantage of other people. I decided that I would become the demon that tormented me, basically, and then lead somebody else to do the same to other people. Oh, ooh, the cycles that people. Anyway, 23. 23 is, who's that? Justice and the Empress. So here is Death and the Empress. Here's Justice and the Empress. Here in 37 was the Hangman and the Chariot. Hangman and Chariot is interesting, and I feel like cultivation is sort of the perfect energy for that, because the Hangman is a more stationary energy. The Hangman is a physically stationary energy, and the Chariot is a physically mobile energy. And so while you're not necessarily doing that movement, what you're doing is you're setting the foundation, laying down the framework to make that movement when it happens as smooth and effortless as possible. And which is what that was talking about. Anyway, we're here now. 23. 23 is a 5, which is all about change. 2 is a number of dual natures. 3 is a catalytic number. And I think that is sort of, again, it's emphasizing this innocence, because this 23 is like, you've experienced one side of this pole to prepare you for the other. But you still have to make that journey from one end to the other. And from that other end, you'll find that a lot of what happened down here is kind of sort of invalidated. But if you don't use this end to motivate you to get to the other end, then you'll continue to be at this end. And then that's when your past is always true, because, you're not doing anything to make anything else happen. Empowerment says, rely on your inner strength to ensure your dreams are realized. You rely on your inner strength to ensure that your dreams are realized. The blessing of Ganesha is sensing your personal power, being confident, responsible, and reliable. The energy from this card is a feeling of optimism and positive energy. Dreams and long-term goals are becoming reality. If you have been lethargic or unmotivated, take time to tune into your personal power. Yellow is associated with the solar plexus chakra, which is the third chakra. This chakra is considered to be at the core of your being, your power center. Here is the home of your self-esteem, your willpower, self-discipline, and your personality. Ganesha is showing you that there is an important purpose for you in this lifetime on earth. You are awakening to your personal power and the memory of yourself as a soul. Your healing will be complete when you see the light of your soul and know that light is who you truly are. Every time you criticize yourself, you weaken your resolve. Loving and accepting yourself and acknowledging your value are the foundation of a balanced solar plexus. Sounds like some sacral stuff to me, which makes sense. When the solar plexus chakra is in balance, you are confident and empowered with a healthy level of self esteem. You have respect for yourself as well as respect for others. You have a strong sense of self and your personal power, and you use it responsibly. Be confident in your talents. Love yourself. Be willing to powerfully express yourself. Choose to be direct with your desires at this time. If you are asking about a decision, all indications are that the time to act is now. Indecision came out yesterday. So this is I mean, hey, would all of this end up with anything besides empowerment? No. Excuse me. I mean, that's clearly what all this is about. And that message of, I mean, like, I feel like that's it. I feel like I don't have to say anything else. I feel like that perfectly summed up everything. Bottom of the deck. Let's see. Bottom of the deck is okay. Y'all remember when I randomly, like, I was reading this and after this, no, I was reading this and after this, I randomly opened up. Oh, look, I just did it again. I just did it again. Blessings, blessings, blessings again at the bottom of the deck. Number 44, again at the bottom of the deck. Blessings. I was like, I'll just randomly open up the page to blessings. Don't know what that's about because it was at the bottom of the deck. Um, and this isn't the first time we've seen blessings either. I think it was also at the bottom of the. No, I think it actually came out. Or was it? No, I think it was the bottom of the deck. I don't think it actually came out. Or maybe it fell out. I don't remember. I don't remember. This is the second time we're seeing blessings on this channel. And I love it because again, it's like this is the space of what we've had to be prepared for. And free will and choice overrides everything. That's why sometimes, even when you ask spirit, things don't just happen because you have to choose to align with the path that spirit is laying out for you to get to that thing that you want. To have that healing, to have that separation, to whatever, you got to put in the work. You got to do something. Blessings, you are divinely protected. Ganesha asks you to consider what exactly it is that you want at this time. He asserts that your desires are within your reach. The universe is conspiring to help you achieve your aspirations. I want to read that again. The universe is conspiring to help you achieve your aspirations, not to achieve them for you. Since the universe is in harmony with your desires, the how will transpire effortlessly. Ganesha is bestowing on you blessings of luck, love, and new prospects. Be very clear about your intentions at this time. Once you have identified what you desire, Ganesha will work to clear the obstacles and amp up your blessings. Withstand the temptation to succumb to self-indulgence. You are in an excellent affluence phase. This period will not last forever, so be sure to take advantage of it and act when opportunities arise. Resolve will triumph. The principle of averages works in your favor now. The more that you perpetrate something, nope, the more that you perpetuate something, and that's very different from perpetrating. Oh, I love that. I'm glad I caught that this time. I don't think I caught it the first time. The more that you perpetuate something that you want, the more likely you are to receive that very thing, even if it feels impossible. And on the same hand, the more that you perpetuate things that you don't want, the more likely it is that you'll continue to receive things that you don't want. And you being in this mindset to go and hurt people the way that you were hurt, to go and take advantage of somebody else the way that you were taken advantage of, to make sure that that's not you again. So you're going to ensure that you're the villain this time, that's that's perpetuating the old cycles, keeping you stuck in the same cycles. Oh, I was abused. I was talked down to. I was discredited. I was made to feel this way. So now I'm going to go and do it to somebody else. And again, it's like, in what world? This world, apparently. But it's like, in what way does that like make sense? But I guess from a certain perspective, if you're the one doing it, then it's not going to happen to you. I don't know. I've never really been that type of person, honestly. But I understand that there are a lot of people like that. So, hey, I know it's a thing. So, I'm not even going to apologize for that one. Let me read that one again. The more that you perpetuate something that you want, the more likely you are to receive that very thing, even if it feels impossible. These manifestation possibilities are endless and range in subject matter, from love to money to success to happiness. Ganesha teaches you that your blessings are continuous. The realization of the blessing may not be immediately apparent. Trust that happiness and blessings are always being showered on you. What is going on in your life at this moment is external and beyond your control. True happiness and blessings lie within, in you, in your heart and soul. And that's page number 77, 44 on page number 77. That is a more complete understanding of spirituality, and that's what gets us to really sort of be master over these physical experiences. You know, because as far as it's a number of stability, it's that Gaian number. It's the number of like Earth and the 3D physical plane. 77 is that spiritual number. So if you elevate it a little bit, that's like understanding. That's a more complete understanding of spirituality that goes beyond just our like limited experience here, and it gets us to perceive or to comprehend or understand or work with, aligned to the fact that what we experience in this plane that is so fixed is a result of both higher and lower influences, both within, or technically all within, but that that is outside of you also has an influence on you, but you have the choice on what that influence, like how that influence plays out. Or you have a choice of determining how strong that influence on you is by your actions and your mindset and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like this basically sums up everything. Some days though, it was like, sort of like bit by bit, piece by piece, you learn chapter one and then chapter two and then chapter three and then chapter four, and then you had the test over all of the chapters in addition to the chapters that you had on those tests in the first time, in the first place. And it's almost like it's this energy. And I wonder if that's what some professors feel like when people would be like, is the final exam cumulative? Is this final cumulative? Is this test cumulative? And in the professor's point, from the professor's perspective, it's probably like you shouldn't be worried over whether or not this test is cumulative, because the assumption is that you've already integrated the knowledge from the past. And so if I'm asking you from something back there, you should already know how to give me the answer. So it shouldn't be an issue. In reality, I think so it's been my typical experience that when a test is cumulative, students typically feel more dread because now they have to study the entire class rather than the material that they've learned since the last test. But in reality, if you learned the material, you should be grateful if a test is cumulative, because then at least there's a portion of the test that you already know. There's a portion of the test that you should already pass. That should bolster your grade. That should boost you because you've already learned that. And so the stuff that you haven't been tested on, that hasn't been proven yet, is a lower percentage of the overall. When that's a higher percentage, there's more for you to sort of like mess up and get wrong because you haven't been tested on it yet. It's only easier from a studying perspective. It's like, oh, now I got to study the whole class rather than just the last chapter. Great. It's always cumulative. And I've had a lot of professors say, like, you know, we are going to be primarily focusing on, like, there are going to be a few things from previous chapters, and we are going to be primarily focused on the stuff that we've learned since the last chapter. But everything that we've learned since the last chapter involves the stuff that we've learned in previous chapters. So it's cumulative by nature because it's a continuous learning process. So we should be applying the things that we've already learned and integrating them with the things that we're learning now to further our understanding and to expand the range of applications that we have for this information. But yeah, at the end of all this, it's like someone's like, "Wait, like you mean to tell me this is cumulative? What?" And it's like, "Yeah, girl, hello. Why wouldn't it be?" And again, like these are things that we should already know. And that this was kind of sort of my intention behind doing these at the end of the year, right? Like, let's look at these, watch these. If this is something that you already know, great. Now you can probably move forward into 2021 with a solid foundation. If these are things that you haven't worked out yet, it's something to be aware of as you move forward. And it's something that if you can to at least start thinking about now. Because again, it's like if you barely made it through the prerequisite for this class, you're probably going to struggle with this one right now. Like if you struggled with this, you're probably going to struggle even more with this if you didn't learn anything, because this is based on all of this. And so if you don't know any of this, how are you supposed to have a fighting chance when it comes to this? Now, not only are you going to be learning this, you're also going to be learning this and learning this and learning this and learning this, or relearning this, this, and this. This would be easier to relearn than this. Like this, you should know and never forget. This is the foundation. Priorities. We should always have those priorities. And sometimes, priorities clash. Sometimes, we want to take it easy, and like maybe taking it easy is one of our priorities. I want ease and flow in my life. I want that to be a priority. And it's like, okay, maybe you also have a priority where you want to be unburdened, right? And so your unburdened priority should fall higher on the list than your ease and flow priority, because if you're not unburdened, it's going to be harder to ease and flow, right? But at the same time, like going back to what I said earlier, it's like if ease and flow is your top priority, then understand that that involves a certain element of unburdening. And if you position it that way, you may have to work a little bit harder, right? Like and I've done that before, I think once. Um, if you start here, it's like you can start here. You have the choice, you have the free will, you can do that. But if you start here and you haven't mastered any of this, just know up front that you're going to have to learn this, learn this, learn this, and learn this at the same time as you're learning this, because all of these are necessary to do this. And so while you're learning this in your independent time, and I've had a few professors like that, mostly in the weed out. No, pretty much all throughout my academic career. I've had good professors. Not every single professor is like that, but I've had professors that are like, I'm only teaching you what's in this class. It's your responsibility to know all of this. And so all of this you do on your own time. All of this you're responsible for. This is the only thing I'm responsible for teaching you right now. And life can be like that sometimes, right? Like, let's say you attract someone into your experience that teaches you how to be open, or their goal in your their purpose in your life at that moment is to teach you how to be open. But for you to be open, It requires some self-love. It requires some working through the past. It requires some understanding of where you want to be, so you kind of sort of have an idea of what you need to accomplish now to get there. And it requires like this, basically a willingness to be hurt, because you never know. But this person here isn't going to make sure you know how to do all this, because all of this leads to openness. This person is only here to teach you openness. And if you have too much stuff back here that you've missed out on, it's like this person isn't responsible. This person has no like liability to sort of wait for you. And a lot of people like to talk, or have liked to talk about, like twin flame journeys and twin flame this and twin flame that, and oh, you're mirroring and you're doing this and you're doing that. But while that is true, free will and choice still overrides that. And so if you're primarily focused on what someone else is or isn't doing, more so than you're focused on doing what it is that you need to do, you could end up in a position where maybe that person does come back. Maybe you do have that reconciliation, but because you didn't do what it is that you needed to do in that time, it falls apart again. And some people will say that, the timing wasn't right, blah, 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 whatever. And while that is true, maybe the timing wasn't right because you didn't do what it is that you needed to do. Maybe the timing wasn't right because you thought divine timing was, if I wait long enough, it'll happen. Instead of divine timing being, if I gather the ingredients, if I check their freshness, if I make sure everything is good, and then, do all of that pre-cooking preparation and then set it in the oven, then when I pull it out, it'll be done. Divine timing isn't just setting the timer on the oven and, expecting, I don't know, some kind of lasagna or a spinach artichoke pizza. I've been really feeling like spinach and cheese for the last like 2 days. It's weird. I think Sun Cult made it. I might have to ask him for the recipe. And I don't even really like spinach, or I didn't think I liked spinach, but whatever we made that day, it was so good. Or did my mama do that? Who did that? I know he did a spinach something, and I think I had spinach something else. No, she got that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just thought about some good food. I got Taurus in my chart. Okay, don't come for me. And I got Cancer. Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize the full moon in Cancer happened right on top of my Mars. Like my Mars is 9 degrees Cancer, and I think the full moon happened like 8 degrees Cancer. So it was a degree away. And do I have a trine there? Yeah, because my sun is 10 degrees Pisces, my Mars is 9 degrees Pisces, and then my descendant is 8 degrees Scorpio. So I have a descendant Sun Mars trine. And the descendant is a major aspect. So I guess it counts. I don't know. Just like the ascendant counts and the midheaven count. And with the ice, I have like 2 water trines in my chart. One that uses my descendant and the other one that uses my IC. So my 7th house cusp completes one trine, and then my 4th house cusp completes the other trine between my Pluto and my Mercury. there's my IC that's responsible for like my sense of home and comfort and things like that, or whatever. Trining up Mercury and Pluto. Transformation and expansion, both mentally and spiritually, are very important to me. And communication is, because communication promotes learning. That's where my soul feels at home, I guess, when I'm growing and expanding or whatever. Maybe not. I don't know. Who knows astrology? Not me. Don't listen to me. You ain't gotta listen to a word I say. Anyway, I hope that y'all can incorporate this so that y'all can move forward into this empowerment and into these blessings. And honestly, like, empowerment and blessings, it's almost this like, you can be blessed and not be empowered, but it is probably very difficult to be empowered but not blessed, because empowerment, like, it leads to blessings. Incorporating all of this leads to blessings. And I think that's when I think gratitude is very interesting because it exists on a spectrum. And I think gratitude, when you're in the mode of doing the work, is different than gratitude when you're not, but you still receive some things, right? And it's like the more you do and the more your understanding of how things work, the more other things are just like a natural occurrence. And so while you are still grateful that those things happen, that gratitude is different than if you had an understanding down here. And like instead of it being like a 99.99999% likely thing to happen here, it's like 25%, 50%, 73.25984% chance of happening here. When that margin of unpredictability, I guess, is wider, then it's like, yeah, I'm a lot more grateful. But personally, in my own experience at this point, it's like, I know what I want. I'm doing what I have to do to get what I want. And so when things happen, like, am I grateful? Yes. But did I expect it to happen? Yeah. Because that's what I'm doing the work for. And I'm like over here actually doing work, you know, actually facing, actually addressing, actually giving my attention to things because I believe my attention is divine. And as someone who seeks connection with my higher self, with spirit, ultimately with the universal witness inside of me, if no one else is using their consciousness in alignment with their universal witness to bring some kind of awareness to this issue, I'm going to do it. And I can do that and not feel hopeless or powerless at not being able to affect something. Like, can I affect anything or can I affect a lot of things directly? No. But if I'm connected to all of that and if I believe all of that, then me doing what I'm doing is enough. It's what I can do in this moment to ensure that justice happens in this area. Me ignoring it, and that's why I say, like, to what you permit persists. What you allow to happen, what you ignore, what you turn a blind eye to, it doesn't stop it from happening. It's just like, oh, now it's happening and you don't know about it. And it's like out of sight, out of mind. In some ways, everything is a paradox, everything is a contradiction. And our journey down here is to learn to accept paradox and contradiction and to learn how to work it. Right? That's what happens when you live in a world where there is both shadow and dark. Those are the same. Well, they could be different. That's what happens when you live in the world where there is light and shadow. Because light is the absence of shadow. Shadow is the absence of light. Well, no, dark. It would be dark. It's light and dark. Shadow is what happens when you put an object in light. So on a more absolute scale, from like a building blocks perspective type of way, there is light and there is dark. Light is the absence of dark. Dark is the absence of light. Now, in a universe where we say that there is light, we say that dark is the absence of light, and light is. In the same way that we say that cold is the absence of heat, and heat is. Like physically, the way our physics works, you can't add cold to a system or take cold out of a system. You either add heat or you remove heat, and then cold is like it's a comparative absence of heat. In the same way, like we have light and dark. So I don't know. It's like it's like trying to define a word without using another word. And so in that way, they are quantumly connected and intertwined. In that way, they're kind of the same thing. We just experience them differently, or we experience them as separate because of where we fall in the scheme of dimensions. On the dimensional scheme, we live in a dimension where we experience them as separate things rather than as a whole thing. where was I going with that? Paradoxes. That's why we have to be comfortable living with paradox, because there's dark and light. There's always going to be dark and light. Even in the 5D, there's going to be dark and light, unless all of a sudden we don't have days anymore and we don't have seasons anymore and people don't grow no more. Like, when you get to universal consciousness, then I would be tempted to say that universal consciousness is the only place where that duality isn't present. But there's probably a few like tiers that lead up to that. There's probably some separation between where we first approach the unification of light and dark, and then like the great central source or God or whatever you believe in. But again, like, it's like once you enter that point though, and with timelessness, I mean, I don't know. I'm not gonna try to comprehend and understand that from my yeah. And then, for the purposes of this channel, I'm not gonna try to comprehend and understand that from the perspective that I have down here, where there's light and dark, and there's left and right, and there's hot and cold. Now on the other channel, I might grab the wild unknown and dig into that a little bit, or the SKT. Why not? I have the time. Okay. No, I'm not gonna get a final message from this. I'm just gonna shuffle the rest of this 2021 energy out. Actually, I will. And let's see that 2021. Give me 2023. Or just no. Well. Let's see what that is. I don't know what this is. I'll just take it. I'll just take it. I'm gonna have to put the chili peppers back on this one. I ain't used the chili pepper emoji in a minute. If y'all see a chili pepper emoji on the video, I went there. We saw this like 2 days ago, I think. Acceptance, number 39. 39 is a 12. And I love that I'm talking about us understanding and learning how to work with paradox, and that duality is a thing. Like, there is light and dark. We don't have to put anything on light and dark, any like moral or whatever judgments on light and dark, but there is light and dark very, very, very high up. In at least from the understanding and perspective that we get, right? Because it's like we even view like angels as these near God level spiritual creatures. Oh, I don't like the word creature. Beings, as these like a lot closer to God level spiritual beings. But even angels and demons are polarized light and dark. So if it runs all the way up to the angelic realms, and I guess all the way down to the demonic realms, that polarization between light and dark, then it's like, what's the 5D gonna, like, how is duality going to disappear in the 5D? Now, this polarizing extremism between the two, where we say that one pole is this and the other pole is that, now that can end. But like that like 2 is so close to the number 1, girl. Like, you're gonna lose what, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3 before you lose 2 when you're trying to get back to the 1. Anyway. Oh, number 43, innocence again. Acceptance, number 39. There is great freedom in accepting things as they are. There you go. You cannot move forward on your path until you release some of the blame, anger, and sorrow that you have collected on your life's journey. Ganesha is asking you to forgive those from the past who have hurt you, and to be willing to forgive yourself too. Open your heart to the world outside and to the one within. This deeper state of recognition and acceptance is what pushes you forward in your spiritual adventure. Love without judgment and live without predetermined opinions. Accept and express your true self. The ego is beginning to align with the soul. What a relief. You don't have to control everything, fix everything, and know everything. If you have been overly serious and tense, you now start to remember happiness. You may find that you can laugh at things instead of getting infuriated. Your contentment in life improves dramatically when you harness your ability to look at the world from a more spiritual perspective. The image of Ganesha holding the banana symbolizes humility and an awareness of not placing too much importance on your thoughts or beliefs in the situation. His pot belly signifies the bounty of nature. It is said that Ganesha consumes the sadness of the universe and protects the world. Learn to honor the values of others that may differ from your own. See the beauty of diversity. Once you see this beauty, it will open you to recognizing and accepting the beauty that resides within you. Bottom of the deck is determination. I think determination is new. Acceptance and determination. That's an interesting combination. I'm going to take that as a personal message to me to like, now that 2020 is over, or now that it's ending, I'm going back chill mode. And if chill mode means that I'm not saying things to people that will get them to where they want to go because they're saying that they want to do one thing, but they're not doing these other things that either actively prevent them from getting that or that keep them where they are, then hey, at this point, we all live our own lives. And I don't know. So get a personal reading from me before. I'm just playing. I'm not going to be like that, but I'm not going to give it unsolicited either. Well, I mean, I guess this space will always be whatever needs to be said needs to be said. Hey, that's my North Node in Sagittarius. If you don't like the fire, get out of this kitchen. Or if you can't stand the fire, whatever. I ain't got to be like that though, because it is still to have some water in there somewhere. Goodness, it is my most prominent element. But you know, two of those are Pisces placements, and one of those is in the 12th house. So, hey, determination. Feel secure in your being. What's that? Personal transformation under determination. Ooh. So, the dynamics of this lifetime can be complicated. There really does not exist in this earthly dimension an environment that is free of trauma, blockages, and lessons. The color red is the color of the first chakra, referred to as the root or base chakra. The root chakra is associated with keeping life exciting and sustainable. It is associated with trusting, belonging, and accepting. When you feel lost or insecure, you lose energy due to the fear these feelings bring up. When the root chakra energy is in balance, you are centered, grounded, healthy, and vibrant with unlimited physical energy. You love your body and love to use it and take care of it. You feel secure in your life and display good common sense. Work with Ganesha to create a sense of feeling rooted to create sorry. Work with Ganesha to create a sense of feeling rooted in order to lift away any heaviness you might be feeling. Focus your attention on the color red and allow yourself to feel joy, energy, and creativity coming back into your life. Red symbolizes love and happiness. It is said to encourage action and confidence and provides a sense of protection from fears and anxiety. Remain positive and open to possibilities. Doing this will strengthen the root chakra and create stability and inner strength. So that's what I got. I hope y'all have a gorgeous 2021. I hope that you take from 2020 all of the things that you need to take in order to minimize the chance that this will happen again, number one, and also to minimize the impact that things like this will have on you. Just like collectively, there needs to be things that change and take place so that if, you know, we ever find ourselves in a situation like this again, there are already protocols in place so that we can go through it losing a lot less life, or with, like, you know, loss being uh lessened, and also that, you know, the quality of life when it comes to having our basic necessities met doesn't dip as much, and it's not as uncertain and unstable between, the extremes of people who were people who didn't have in the first place, people who like barely had or were already financially juggling just to make ends meet, and those who don't even who can't even conceive of or who don't have to worry about that being their experience, basically. But just like we have to have all of these change externally, we also have to have these changes internally. Because again, it's like free will and choice override pretty much everything. There are people who experience boundless abundance, or what we would refer to as abundance. There are people who experience extreme wealth who get absolutely no fulfillment, no joy, no peace, no anything from it, and are mentally, emotionally, and maybe even spiritually in a place that is as bankrupt as what we see maybe someone who doesn't have anything as physically. And there are people who don't have anything or who barely have anything, but can find happiness and joy and peace and comfort in their world. And so there's a wealth of spiritual, mental, and emotional stability or happiness. Or even spiritual and emotional. Maybe mental is it's still whatever, but the fact that people can be on opposite sides, the fact that people can have a variety of experiences, people can experience the same or very similar things, but come out different. The fact that you can wake up one day and you can decide today is going to be the day I go to the gym, I get my body together, I eat better, I go to sleep at a decent time, I do all of these things that I know I need to do for myself to make my life better. Today, I'm just going to decide to do it. I don't need it to be a new year. I don't need it to be my birthday. I don't need for something extreme to happen in my life to get me to this point. Today, I just decide that enough is enough and I'm going to do something different. That in and of itself just exemplifies how huge free will and free choice are. And again, they're honored. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Be that action mental, physical, spiritual, or emotional, equal and opposite. And there should be some comfort in that, you know? All right. I'll catch y'all when I catch y'all. Excuse me. See you in the new year. I'll probably head over to my other channel in a minute before I start engaging with other people today. It's going to be a good day today. This is going to be a fun day. I'm going to be really intentional about catching up with and spending some time with some folks that I care about, especially some folks that I haven't really had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with lately, or to really catch up with lately. So, all right. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.